It's the ride to work. VW behind me. I promised myself I would have more of a topic to discuss, so I didn't have that minute pause when I first start the camera. Didn't do that. This is what happens when you have no time. The whole reason why I chose to start in this format is because I just don't have time for editing. I don't have time for, I don't even have time to sit down and write things out, like peck away on the keyboard, So I can't give much of a response to my comments half the time because I just don't have time. I'm chasing after those slave credits. Yes, I am. I'm chasing after those slave credits. I just don't have time, people. So that's why I chose the ride to work format or the ride home format. It's just I don't have time to sit down with everything. Plus, I don't really care to, look at myself that much. I mean, I don't think I'm ugly. I don't particularly fashion myself to be that handsome, but, I just don't have that vanity that I, want to look at myself and hear myself all the time, I listen to myself anyway. I don't need to recycle it, If I had my druthers, I would probably wish I could sound like Tayson Day or something, He's got a cool voice. But yeah, I just don't have time to contrive things, or stilt them, write things in a sketch format, and then spend a lot of time in post-production. That's why you see the camera moving all over the place at the beginning and the end of the videos, because, I don't have time to go and edit that stuff out. I just don't. So I remember Vyperius sent me a question to my Tortured for Christ video, and I just wanted to address that a little bit more formally and openly. And his question, if people go back to the video, his question was basically, why wouldn't you? I'm trying to remember exactly how he worded it, but I'll try to. Let me sum up. Was basically, why wouldn't you just lie to the communists and say publicly that you deny Christ, but keep worshiping Christ in secret? It's more or less, it's like, more or less, it's like, what does it matter if you lie to those people? They don't count, or they do count, but the whole thing is about winning people and keeping your integrity. And basically the Messiah said it openly. He said it plain as, clear as crystal. He said, if you confess me before men, then I will also confess you before my Father in heaven. And if you deny me before men, you will I also deny before the face of my Father. And that's heavy duty. That's some serious stuff. People don't seem to get. A lot of Christians have this strange philosophy or theosophy that Jesus is this peacenik, or this hippie commune guy, and nothing could be further from the truth. We get this backwards perspective that the God of the Old Testament was this harsh and cruel master who forced you to do things his way, and there was no free will involved, and it was all about hellfire and judgment and cursing and destroying people and genocide. And you get to the New Testament and he's this peace-loving hippie guy who's come and said, I'm okay, you're okay, everybody's okay, and you can't judge anybody, and I just don't see it. I think it's the reverse. I think it's the fact that, for the last 6,000 years, we've had the same God who has been most merciful and compassionate and has given as much time as his patience will allow to allow all men to come to him, and to allow Israel to stumble and backslide and fall down and all of this stuff that, it just flies in the face of his grace and mercy and compassion and all that. And, the first time he came was all about mercy and grace and compassion and all this. But this next time he's coming with judgment and brimstone and fire and condemnation and all of that. It's exactly the opposite of what Christians seem to think. And, I'll tell you this now. Judgment begins in the house of Elohim. So, I also give this example to be, what about the three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? I mean, they were in the face of the ruler of the world, Nebuchadnezzar, who built himself an idol and commanded everybody to bow before the idol. You talk about the marriage of state and religious power. That's it right there. And those three boys, without arms, without taking up the banner of war, they just stood there and refused. And Nebuchadnezzar said, hey, if you don't do what I tell you to do, then you're going to burn. And they said, well, our God's so great, he'll save us out of that. And even if he doesn't, we still won't bow to you and your idol. We're not going to do it. That takes guts. That takes real courage to face the furnace. And I'll tell you this, America's going to have that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego experience. There are going to be us believers who are going to have to go through the nuclear inferno. And the only thing that's going to save us out of that, I've seen a few videos on there that people think that once the bombs drop on America, that they're going to go up in this mystical rapture thing. I disagree. For the very example that I just gave, I disagree. I think we're going to have to stay here and go through that fire. And that will be the proof that there is a God. And then all those people who are here in the aftermath, who see what God does for His people, they're going to go, we're going with you guys. There is a God, and He loves His people. We're with you. Just like the Egyptians, when the Israelites came out, they didn't just come out the families of Israel. They came out with a mixed multitude of other nations, other slaves, and even Egyptians who saw very clearly there is no God but Yahuwah. And beyond that, in the communist philosophy, the state is God. And it is a jealous God and has no other gods before its face. That's how totalitarian states work. So I will not bow at the altar of statism. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It goes against everything in my being. I will not slave to them. Besides that, we're dead already. So the sooner we get that through our heads, the more courage we'll be able to develop when this thing really kicks off. That's my final answer on that. I'm very passionate about it. I want to be in the presence of my King on that day, and I know it's not going to happen if I'm publicly declaring that there is no God but the state, even if my heart says otherwise. So, yes, it is about public proclamations, and my King has already won, and no servant is greater than his master. So, I accept my fate, be that what it may, whether I'm to help deliver Yahuwah's children, or if I'm to go and be tested and overcome through death, whatever it takes, I'm willing to go there.